This is my BMW E39 5 Series, and it's a bit of an outlier in my car ownership track record. For a start, it's the car I've owned for the longest period of time. I've had it for over 3 years, far longer than any of the other 17 cars I've owned, some of which only ever stayed for a couple of weeks. But despite setting a record for ownership length, I've never driven a car less frequently. In those 3 years, I've barely covered 10,000 kilometers in this car because it's rarely been in good enough condition for me to just get in and drive, and that makes it an outlier as well. But it's also an outlier in a literal sense, because very soon after I bought it, I got a cheap Mazda 2 as a quick project to make some extra money. And then I bought a work van to try and build a detailing business, and at the same time I had 2 old Holdens to give Uber car share a try. But they both broke down too often, and detailing wasn't a high priority for many people back in 2022 when everything else in life was getting more expensive. So after a year or so, I cut my losses, sold them all, and got a desk job. And among other projects, I most recently bought back my old Forester to save it from the scrapyard, which you may have just seen on the channel. And all this time, the E39 has just sat out lying on the street, collecting dust and going for weeks or even months undriven.
But here's the thing, I sold my much nicer and much faster Passat because I decided I like this old leak machine more. And if this were any other car being parked up the way it has been for maybe 10 days, I would have just gotten rid of it.
But I haven't been able to bring myself to do it because the E39 is one of my favorites from BMW, and with BMW being one of my favorite brands, that means this is one of my favorite cars ever. I need to lock in on this thing, so as of today, I'm doubling down on the E39.
Laying out in front of me here, and also in the back of the Forester because couldn't fit everything on the top, is an orchestra of parts. If you're counting everything like small bolts and seals, how many was it again? 154 new parts. 154 brand new parts. I hope this is worth it. Yeah, no, should be good. No, seriously, because you spent the whole budget on parts. I couldn't even rent a GoPro. Now I have to film the episode on this piece of shit. Is that an iPad 2? Your one isn't an iPad, mate. Everyone can see it's some random Android tablet. No, I didn't. Let's just get on with it, okay? I've got 4 of my 16 gigabytes left here. All right, 154 brand new parts ready to go on the car. I've got a whole range of stuff, bushings and control arms, a factory dual mass flywheel to replace the lightweight one that I don't enjoy at all, some timing parts and a set of 24 hydraulic lifters to get the engine sorted, brake lines, coolant pipes, a new heater core and blower fan for the HVAC, various bits of trim, and plenty of little parts like clips, springs, O-rings, ball bearings, and more things. Please consider subscribing. I have got my work cut out for me, and there's a lot of places I could start, but I think I want to begin in the engine bay because I'll need to drain the coolant for that, which will get the car ready for doing the heater core inside. So let's begin. I knew I heard a vacuum leak coming from somewhere. Cracked there as well. That's rubbish. I'm getting close to the point where I'm going to take the camshafts out and swap the lifters, but before I do that, it's a good idea to soak your new lifters in some oil just to help get any air bubbles out of them and kind of prime them before you put them in the car and start it for the first time and build up that oil pressure for the first time. And place them upside down just so that any air bubbles that might be in there can escape upwards. Okay, everything is disassembled. All the lifters are laying out in front of me. This guy here, you can see and hopefully hear that I am able to press that by hand. I shouldn't be able to do that. You could just replace the one. If you're doing all this work, you may as well replace all of them. I think they're €6 each. So just get the whole set, do them all, because if this has failed, likely one or many of these are also about to fail.
This is the VANOS unit. This is pretty much BMW's version of VTEC, except less reliable. This is a potential source of noise in an M54 engine. So I'm pretty much trying to eliminate everything minor that could be that ticking noise I have. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to reconsider my whole life. Good news is the housing itself is looking really decent. These surfaces here are still highly polished and very, very smooth, which is good. If you've got deep grooves in here, you're gonna have a really hard time getting these seals to work properly, and you probably need a new main unit. So it looks like this end of it is fine. The covers also seem fine. This one looks kind of bad, but it feels perfectly smooth. I can't really feel any of these notches, so I'm just gonna hit it with a bit of aluminium polish, and that should take care of that. The pistons themselves, we need to open these up and have a look at the bearings. But first I want to check them for play, because that's the main source of noise with this engine. Checking these for play is really easy. All you have to do is mount it back up to the camshaft here. Left hand thread, screw it in reverse. If you're there for 10 minutes thinking you can't get the bolt engaged, you just need to go backwards. And now it's on. So a bit of side to side is okay, and you want it to be able to spin freely. This almost spins a little bit too freely. But when you hold this spline behind it, you don't want to be able to pivot it back and forth on its main axis. And this one has a little bit of play. It's not too bad, but we're still going to rebuild it. The exhaust one's really good. That's almost not even worth rebuilding. Now, this is actually not ideal. I wanted these to be bad, because then it means there's a higher chance all this work I'm doing is going to fix the noise I've got. Can also be the outer seals that cause a knocking sound. So we're just going to do everything and see how we go. These seals have two layers to them. The first one is a more standard kind of rubber type O-ring. The second layer of the seals are these PTFE rings. These are a much harder material, more like Teflon, kind of like a nylon feel to them, because they need to be hard wearing. They do a lot of work to center these pistons inside the cylinders here of the VANOS unit. To fit them, you just have to soak them in some warm water for a few minutes. That will help them expand so you can stretch them over the piston, and then you can fit everything back together in the unit. So close. Nah. Now I have to coat the inside of the cylinder and these pistons with some oil, and then we're going to put these into place for about 5 minutes. They're nice and flat and square. Then take these guys out, grab the covers, same thing here.
There you go.
And that is the engine bay sorted, except for reinstalling the intake manifold, but I can't do that until I've taken care of the heater core piping, so it's time to head inside and pull apart the dash. Right, heater core and the heater pipes that I had to absolutely destroy to get out of the car. Basically, they were so stuck in the heater core inlet and outlet ports that I had to cut them so I could wiggle and bend them out because they need to go into the firewall first and then into the heater core. So I couldn't really move them at all or rotate them until I cut them. Goes without saying, this is the old heater core. It's pretty dead and potentially been dead for a long time based on the fact that we've got both red and green coolant. I think when I first bought this car, it had red coolant in it and then I swapped it out. So this has probably been leaking for a very long time. The other side, we've got some yellow corrosion as well. So just in general, completely cooked. She's ready to go. I decided to paint this thing. I know it's completely overkill, but I really didn't like the look of all the surface rust on it. And I just thought, I don't know, in 20 years, that surface rust might be a
completely rusted through, at which point it'll be impossible to find a good one of these. And considering there was a coolant leak right here, I just thought I'll repaint it with some rust inhibiting paint. I managed to break the clips on both of these cables for the recirculator flaps. Now, you could go and buy a new cable and replace it. I have no idea how long that would take, and there's no way I'm going to do that when zip ties exist. So let me show you a much easier solution. Just drill through that bad boy. And this goes through here. And what do we say? I'm going to test out the new blower fan and all the cables and motors, make sure that stuff's all good before I put it back together. That's pretty much all I can do for now until I get my dashboard. I'm swapping to a black dashboard up top because I don't really like the brown, and I'm getting that tomorrow. So what I'll do now is attack the window regulator on the passenger side, and I'll show you what I'm doing for the door cards there as well. Yeah, you can see the problem. It'll come down, but it won't come up. Old regulator here. I'm not 100% sure what I'm looking at, but I do know this is supposed to be looped around this pulley, and I know this is supposed to be compressed with this black piece inserted in here. I also know that it doesn't work, so I'm going to assume that is why it doesn't work. Bit of PTFE spray in these channels help it slide a bit more easily.
I know this looks a bit casual, but it is the most effective way of changing the color of the upper door cards here. I'm using a vinyl and plastic primer, followed by an interior vinyl paint, both of which go on very thin and keep the grain pattern of the trim visible. The upper sections of the rear door cards can be separated and replaced, but on the front doors they're fused to the main panel, so other than somehow finding a set of right-hand drive door cards in good condition with the colors I need, paint is pretty much the only viable option.
While I've got the door cards off, I'm going to paint these little handle buckets. Don't know officially what they're called, but we'll go with that. I will admit this is low priority in terms of everything I'm doing to the car, but I may as well do it while I have them off and never have to think about it again. I had some paint mixed up at VG. They matched the color to the handbrake trim there, so it should be pretty good. But first I've got to use a bit of plastic primer. Just spent about an hour masking everything off. Super tedious, but unfortunately there's no other way to do it. Got to quickly put this air vent back together. The reason it's in pieces is because I had to paint my brown one. Unfortunately, I didn't notice on the black door cards I bought that one of them was cracked. I'm not really prepared to go and buy more parts for this thing. I think I've spent enough. So I decided to just repaint the brown ones, and I wanted to do both because if I only did one and kept the other good one, it wouldn't match. So I've painted it. I think it turned out pretty nicely. I just used some textured black. Looks a tiny bit different, but I'm happy with it. But it means I've lost the on and off markings here. So let me put it back together and I'll show you what I'm going to do about that.
Okay, so I've painted over my markings here. I could hand paint them back on, but I'm not that dude at Rolls-Royce who does the stripes, so it's probably going to look terrible. I could make some stickers and put them back on, but they will probably peel off. I could try laser engraving, but that's going to be very fiddly, and if it doesn't work perfectly, it's going to ruin the paint completely. Grab the printer and just replicate the dial with the markings on the dial now, so they don't need to be on the actual vent itself. Zero is closed, of course. Rotate it to open, and it's open. That's it. Nice and simple. Even clicks into place like the old one. Cars like this from the 90s and 2000s rely on a huge number of plastic parts which are only getting harder to find. I'm a firm believer that 3D printing is going to play an important role in keeping these cars working smoothly in the coming years, and it's a service I offer on my website. If you have an older vehicle with plastic parts you can't source, or you have a custom project in mind, you can get in touch with me via the link in the description. Last piece of the puzzle for this door card is trim. Now, I'm going to be bringing some silver back into this car. If I were to buy this actual trim, it's extremely expensive because I have to get it from overseas. No one in Australia really has it. So for now, what I've done is just wrap the wood trim, took off the black fabric, wrapped it in silver, can decide how much I like it, and one day, if I have about $500 burning a hole in my pocket, I can go buy an actual set. But for now, I think this looks pretty good. And that is a restored door card and a fixed window motor. I'm going to try and do something about these two little spots here, but I'll do that later on. Now that you know the drill, I'm going to save us both the trouble of filming the next 3 doors. I'll see you back inside. It's now time to take care of the rear suspension, subframe, diff bushings, and whatever else I bought parts for that I now can't remember. Neither of my two bushing puller kits had the right size cup to take out the bushing on this control arm, obviously. So I just went to Bunnings, bought a hole saw, 12 bucks, cut off the teeth, worked perfectly. Last step is the boot here, and I've printed up a couple little tools to try and help the installation process for this because it is a bit fiddly and they can get bent out of shape quite easily. And ready to go back on the car. Done. Let's change the fluid in this diff, seeing as I've changed basically everything else. Be rude not to. Always crack the filler plug first, because if you can drain your diff but you can't refill it, then you're cooked. Yeah, I'm going to use the long one. Ow! I'm going to go eat some lasagna while that drains and do a damage report on my finger. And that's it. Right, front suspension is out. Bit of an old versus new here. Sway bar link, obviously this is the one from the other side because I've already installed it, is just rubbish. This smaller control arm, same deal, cooked. This bushing here actually doesn't look too bad, but the ball joint is, so it's got to go. And the main control arm, same deal with the ball joint. Rubbish. It's pretty much cracked all the way through and absolutely toast. Let us rebuild the front calipers. Picked up some caliper brake assembly grease as well. I didn't use it on the back, I just used the brake fluid on the seals, which does work fine. A lot of people do that. I just didn't like how hard it was to press the pistons in, and the front brakes are more important. So I'm just thinking, let's try this. And if I have issues with the ones on the back, I've got spare seals. I can just redo them. Shouldn't be too hard. Yeah, that's way better. Same deal as the back, got a little 3D printed tool here. If you have an E39 or an E46, anything that uses this size of caliper and you think this would be useful, let me know in the comments. I might make it available to buy on my site, or even just a print file. As you can tell, I don't have a 4-post lift, so I'm just using these markers and a hydraulic jack to get the wheels to ride height for torquing the bushings. I know it looks like the curve is slightly off. This is actually for the other side of the car, but it's within a mil. It'll be fine. With everything mechanical wrapped up, I think this is a good place to end the video. In the next episode, I'll be looking at the cosmetics of the car, polishing the paint, and fixing up a few bits of trim and small pieces, as well as the interior and the wheels. Keep an eye out for that one, and I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.